welcome to our deep dive, all about everyday courage.
Uh-huh.
Those
Yeah.
small but impactful moments.
Right.
And we'll be using Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule, to guide us today.
Great book.
Yeah, you might know Mel Robbins from her viral TED Talk or her appearances on shows like Good Morning America.
I've seen those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's incredible.
She really is.
So powerful when it comes to human behavior
Right.
and
Yeah.
helping people tap into their potential.
And what I find so compelling about this book is it takes this concept of courage,
Yeah.
which seems like this big, daunting thing,
Right.
and makes it accessible for everybody.
Absolutely.
It shows us courage isn't just for like superheroes
Right.
or these extraordinary people.
Yeah,
It's something we can all cultivate in our everyday lives.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Robbins really sets the stage with a powerful analogy right at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
She uses this story from a David Foster Wallace speech about two young fish swimming along.
Oh.
And they encounter this older fish,
Mm-hmm.
and the older fish asks them,
Yeah.
"Morning, boys.
Mm-hmm.
How's the water?"
Okay.
And the two young fish kind of swim on for a bit, puzzled, before one finally says, "What the hell is water?"
Right.
So it's funny, but it makes you think, right?
It does.
Yeah.
What Wallace was getting at is that sometimes the most important realities,
Mhm.
the things that shape our lives the most,
Right.
are so familiar to us,
Yeah.
so ever-present, that we become blind to them.
We don't even realize.
Yeah, we don't even see it.
Like we're swimming in it.
Yeah, we're swimming in this sea of opportunities,
Mhm.
but we're so focused on like all these little details,
Right.
worries and doubts,
Yeah,
that we miss the bigger picture.
totally.
And that's how Robbins connects this analogy to everyday courage.
Okay.
Those chances to be courageous are right in front of us,
Yeah.
but we're too caught up in our own heads to even notice.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and
A key part of this is recognizing and acting on our instincts.
that's huge.
I think we all have that inner voice,
Yeah.
that gut feeling that tells us what we should do.
For sure.
But so often, fear, doubt, overthinking, all kind of drown it out.
We've all been there.
Right.
Yeah.
So Robbins shares these incredible stories
Mm-hmm.
about how ignoring those instincts can lead to missed opportunities.
Like what?
And they're not just little things either.
Oh, wow.
So you think about the discovery of matches.
Okay.
It was a chemist
Yeah.
who accidentally created them while he was trying to recreate a chemical reaction he'd observed.
Interesting.
And Velcro.
Velcro.
Yeah.
Okay.
That came from someone who was just curious about how those cockleburrs
Yeah.
stuck to his dog's fur.
Huh.
Isn't that wild?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so even something as ubiquitous as the Frappuccino at Starbucks
Oh, wow. Okay.
started as a simple instinct.
How so?
A store manager in Santa Monica
Mm-hmm.
noticed that sales dipped when it was hot outside
Makes sense.
and just thought, what if we had a frozen coffee drink?
Smart.
So he went with his gut,
Yeah.
experimented a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, a global phenomenon was born.
Wow.
Imagine if he hadn't trusted that instinct, though, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it really makes you wonder how many brilliant ideas we're missing out on
Right.
because we're hesitant to trust our gut.
Absolutely.
So we've established we need to be paying attention to these instincts,
Okay.
these little nudges.
Mhm.
But then what?
Yeah.
How do we actually act on them?
That's the question.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is where Robbins introduces her now famous 5-second rule.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, it sounds almost too simple,
Right.
but it's actually grounded in how our brains work.
Okay. How does it work?
So the idea is when you feel that instinct, that urge to do something,
Mhm.
you count down from 5,
Got it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Got it.
and then you move.
So you're just interrupting that
Yeah, no hesitation.
overthinking loop.
No overthinking. You're essentially interrupting that overthinking loop
Uh-huh.
before it can even take hold,
Okay.
because we have this tiny window
Yeah.
of about 5 seconds
Right.
before our brains start throwing up all those doubts and fears.
I can see that.
And the power of this tool
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah. How so?
Think about Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks?
Yeah. Her decision to stay seated on that bus,
Right?
a decision that ignited the civil rights movement,
Wow.
was a 5-second decision.
Really?
She didn't overthink it.
Wow.
She didn't plan it.
She just acted.
She just acted on her instinct that this was wrong.
Powerful.
And what's even more interesting is that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.,
Okay.
the young preacher who ultimately led the bus boycott,
Right.
initially hesitated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he almost declined the nomination to lead.
Wow.
because he felt overwhelmed by the task.
I can only imagine.
But he pushed through.
He pushed through that fear, that
Right.
5-second window, and his decision changed the world.
Changed history.
Powerful.
It highlights that courage isn't about being fearless.
No.
It's about acting,
In spite of.
despite those fears.
Yeah.
And these are obviously huge historical examples,
Right.
but they're really meant to show us
Yeah.
that
That we can all have.
these moments of courage
Yeah.
happen every day to everyone.
For sure.
So what does this all mean for us?
Right.
For our everyday moments
Yeah.
where we need just a little boost of courage.
Exactly.
What are some practical
Yeah.
examples
Yeah.
where this 5-second rule can make a difference?
Well, it doesn't have to be about these life or death decisions or
Yeah.
world-changing actions.
No.
Everyday courage can be as simple as
Yeah.
speaking up in a meeting when you have a great idea.
Or reaching out to a friend
Yeah.
who's going through a tough time.
Exactly.
Or finally starting that new hobby you've been
Mhm.
putting off for months.
Those are all good ones.
Right.
Yeah.
These seemingly small acts of courage
Mm-hmm.
can have this ripple effect,
Right.
leading to bigger, more positive changes.
Makes sense.
Robbins gives so many relatable examples in the book.
Oh, yeah.
At work, it could be pushing back against a difficult colleague,
Okay.
volunteering for a challenging project,
Yeah.
simply asking for that raise you deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In our relationship.
And relationships.
Yeah, it might be having that tough conversation we've been avoiding,
Right.
setting healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Or simply expressing our feelings, honestly.
I like that one.
Yeah. And when it comes to personal growth,
Okay.
it could be facing a fear,
Mm-hmm.
getting out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
or finally committing to that goal you've had for ages.
About time.
But let's be real.
We all struggle with these things.
We all struggle with fear and self-doubt. It's part of the human experience.
Robbins even talks about how Michelangelo, yeah,
Okay.
the genius behind the Sistine Chapel, initially fled to Florence and hid.
He hid.
Yeah, when the Pope asked him to paint it.
Can you imagine?
Even Michelangelo,
Even Michelangelo was crippled by self-doubt.
crippled by self-doubt.
And you know what's even crazier?
What?
Steve Wozniak,
Wozniak, okay.
co-founder at Apple,
Yeah,
almost didn't quit his job to launch the company
he didn't.
because he was afraid and uncertain.
Wow, that just shows you
It just goes to show
that even...
that even brilliant, successful people experience these feelings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the ways this fear and self-doubt manifests
Yeah.
is through
Procrastination.
procrastination.
You all know it too well.
We all know it.
Uh-huh.
But here's the thing.
There's two types.
There are actually two types of procrastination.
Yeah.
The destructive kind, which we all know and loathe,
Mm-hmm.
is when we avoid tasks we need to get done.
For sure.
But then there's productive procrastination.
Productive procrastination.
Yeah, which can actually be essential
For what?
for creative endeavors.
How so?
Think about stepping away from a project to let your mind wander,
Okay.
allowing those new ideas and insights to emerge.
I can see that.
It's not always a bad thing.
Interesting.
Um,
So Robbins dives into some research
okay.
from Dr. Tim Peichel,
Hmm.
who's a leading expert on procrastination.
Yep. Okay.
And his work shows that procrastination
Yeah.
is often driven by our desire to avoid stress
To avoid stress.
in the moment
Okay.
rather than laziness.
Makes sense.
So you know that feeling when you know you should be working on that presentation,
Yeah.
but Netflix is calling your name.
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
All too well.
So Dr. Peichel's research suggests that's not just laziness.
It's our brain.
It's our brain trying to avoid the stress of tackling that task.
So it's like our present self.
It's our present self
Yeah.
sabotaging our future self.
Sabotaging our future
So a
self.
quick hit of relief.
Right. Right. So where does the 5-second rule, that makes so much sense.
Fit into all of this.
That's where it becomes such a powerful tool.
Yeah, okay.
It helps us override that initial resistance
Yeah.
to a task,
That urge to procrastinate.
that urge to procrastinate
Right.
and get started,
Mm-hmm.
even when it feels uncomfortable.
Makes sense.
It's like giving your future self a fighting chance
Yeah.
against that sneaky present self.
Well, I like that.
So Robbins emphasizes
Yeah.
that separating our feelings from our actions
Yeah.
is crucial
For success.
for success
Right.
in any area of life.
Makes sense.
And she gives some incredible examples in the book,
Like what?
like elite athletes
Okay.
who push through fatigue
Yeah.
to perform at their best.
Right.
Or her own struggles with anxiety and how she learned to manage it
Yeah.
by literally changing her actions in those 5-second windows.
That's powerful.
There's this great anecdote in the book about a teenager
Okay.
who is constantly distracted by social media.
Oh, I know a few of those.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
She knew it was impacting her focus and her mental health,
Right.
but she couldn't seem to break the habit.
Yeah.
So she used the 5-second rule to just delete those apps from her phone.
Wow, that's bold.
And you know what?
Uh,
Even though she didn't feel like it at first,
mhm.
taking that action led to greater freedom and focus.
It's a powerful illustration.
It is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't always wait for the right feeling
No.
to act.
Sometimes we just got to do it.
Sometimes we need to act first,
Yeah.
and the feelings will follow.
That's the magic of the 5-second rule.
That's the magic.
It gets us moving.
It gets us moving.
Even when our emotions are trying to hold us back.
Right. It's like Robbins is saying that action is the key
Yeah.
to unlocking our true potential.
Right.
Those 5-second decisions.
Uh-huh.
Those moments where we choose to act despite our fear or hesitation
Makes sense.
are where real change begins.
Absolutely.
And this leads us to another area where the 5-second rule can be really powerful.
What's that?
Morning routines.
Morning routines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robbins argues that mastering your morning
Yeah.
is the powerful act of everyday courage.
Why is that?
Because those small actions,
Okay.
those 5-second decisions we make in the morning,
Yeah.
can have a ripple effect throughout our entire day.
Interesting.
So she shares her own morning routine,
What does she do?
which is all about minimizing distractions and maximizing focus.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
she keeps her phone in the bathroom to avoid getting sucked into emails
Okay.
or social media first thing in the morning,
I should try that.
right?
Yeah.
She also wakes up early
Uh-huh.
to work on her big picture goals
Yeah.
before the daily chaos takes over.
Smart.
And get this, she even plans her quitting time,
She plans her quitting time.
Yeah.
How does that work?
which helps ensure she has work-life balance
Okay.
and doesn't get caught in that, like, work expands to fill the time trap
Right.
that so many of us fall into.
Yeah, we all fall into that.
It's about setting those boundaries, making those conscious choices,
Yeah.
even when they feel small,
Right.
to create the life we want.
Makes sense.
And Robin shares stories from other people who have used the 5-second rule
Okay.
to transform their mornings
Uh-huh.
and ultimately their lives.
That's powerful.
It's really inspiring to
Yeah.
see how these small, consistent actions,
Right.
those 5-second decisions,
Yeah.
can lead to such incredible changes.
So it's a reminder
A
that
powerful reminder
we have more control.
that we have more control over our lives
Yeah.
than we often realize.
It's true.
It's about making those conscious choices,
Mm-hmm.
moment by moment,
Yeah.
to create the life we want.
So true.
But what about our relationship?
Relationships.
Yeah.
Okay.
How does everyday courage play a role in building those deeper,
Mm-hmm.
more meaningful connections with others?
That's a good question.
So that's where it gets really interesting
Okay.
and maybe a bit more vulnerable.
Mhm.
Robbins talks about how everyday courage is also about showing up authentically in our relationships,
Yeah.
even when it's hard.
It can be tough.
Right.
Yeah.
She shares this very personal anecdote
Okay.
about a conversation with her father
Mm-hmm.
after he was diagnosed with an aneurysm.
Wow.
So
That must have been.
that must have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And she admits that she almost didn't ask the tough questions.
Right.
You know, the questions that were really weighing on her heart.
Mm-hmm.
But the 5-second rule
Yeah.
gave her the courage
Wow.
to have this truly heartfelt and honest conversation
Mm-hmm.
with her father.
I bet she's glad she did.
A conversation she'll cherish forever.
Yeah.
It makes you realize
Sometimes the most courageous act is just
that sometimes the most courageous act
present.
is simply being present
Yeah.
and honest
With the people we love.
with the people we love,
Even when it's hard.
even when it feels scary or uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Robin stresses that there's no right time
No.
for these important conversations.
The time is now.
The time is now.
Right.
She even tells the story of Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, a young man who tragically passed away,
Oh, wow.
leaving behind this heartfelt text message
Okay.
to his loved ones,
Yeah.
expressing his love and gratitude.
That's touching.
So it's a stark reminder
Yeah.
to not take our relationships for granted
No.
and to use everyday courage to express our feelings and leave nothing unsaid.
Powerful.
It's so easy to let those important conversations slide.
I've done it.
Right.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
But as Robbins reminds us, tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
That's true.
So we need to make the most of the time we have.
Right.
And sometimes that means pushing past our fear or discomfort
Yeah.
to connect with the people who matter most.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful reminder
Yeah.
that life is precious and relationships are truly what matter.
For sure.
And if we circle back to that water analogy,
Okay.
it really highlights
Yeah.
how those moments of courage, those chances to connect authentically,
Right.
are all around us.
They really are.
Like we're surrounded by this sea of opportunities
Absolutely.
to be courageous, to deepen our relationships, to live more fulfilling lives.
Like that.
But we're often so caught up
In our own heads.
in our own internal chatter
Yeah.
that we miss them.
So true.
So it's about becoming more aware, more present,
Yeah.
so we can recognize those 5-second windows when they appear.
Makes sense.
And Robbins really drives home the point
What's that?
that everyday courage isn't about these grand gestures.
Okay.
It's about those small, seemingly insignificant moments
Right.
where we choose to act despite our fears and doubts.
It's not about being fearless.
It's not about being fearless.
It's about acting even when we are afraid.
It's about acting even when we are afraid.
Exactly.
About that 5-second countdown, that push.
That push to get us moving.
Get us moving even when our emotions are telling us to stay put.
Right.
And the beauty of the 5-second rule
It is it?
is its simplicity.
Yeah.
It's a tool anyone can use, anywhere, anytime.
You don't need any special training.
Doesn't require any special training or equipment.
Right.
It's just about making that conscious choice to act.
I like that.
And Robbins argues that one of the most powerful areas where we can apply this rule
Yeah.
is in our own personal growth.
Okay. How so?
She talks about how we all have these dreams, these goals we want to achieve,
Yeah.
but fear so often holds us back.
Fear is a powerful thing.
Right.
Yeah.
We get stuck in those what ifs and maybes, and we end up procrastinating,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes for years.
I've been there.
It's like that destructive procrastination we talked about earlier,
Right.
that urge to avoid the discomfort
Yeah.
of the task at hand. But Robbins reminds us that discomfort
Discomfort can be a good thing.
is often a sign that we're on the right track,
It can be a sign.
that we're stretching ourselves and growing.
That makes sense.
It's about leaning into those uncomfortable feelings,
Okay.
using that 5-second countdown
Right.
to push past the resistance and take action.
I can see that.
And she provides some fantastic examples in the book
Oh, yeah.
of how people have used the 5-second rule to overcome their fears and achieve incredible things.
Like what?
Like the woman who was terrified of public speaking,
Okay.
but used the rule to force herself to sign up for a Toastmasters class.
Wow.
Or the man who dreamed of writing a novel,
Okay.
but could never get started.
Yeah.
He used the 5-second rule to commit to writing just 1 page a day.
1 page a day.
And eventually he finished his book.
That's awesome.
These stories demonstrate that
Yeah.
it's not about making these massive leaps or overnight transformations.
Oh, that's
It's about those small, consistent actions that build momentum
Yeah.
and lead to lasting change.
Makes sense.
It's about showing up for ourselves, even when it feels hard,
Yeah.
and using those 5-second windows to push past our self-doubt
Right.
and take action towards the life we want.
It's a good reminder.
It is, right.
Yeah.
So this brings us to a really interesting point
What's that?
that Robbins makes about the connection between our thoughts and our actions.
Oh, okay.
She talks about how we often wait
For the right feeling.
for the right feeling before we act.
Yeah.
But that can be a trap
How so?
because sometimes those feelings never come,
Right.
or they're overshadowed by fear or insecurity,
For sure.
and we end up stuck in this cycle of inaction, waiting for some magical moment of motivation that may never arrive.
Right. Right.
So
Robbins.
Robbins
Yeah.
emphasizes that we don't have to feel like it to do it.
You don't.
No.
Okay.
In fact, sometimes the most powerful thing we can do
Yeah.
is act
Act in spite of our feelings.
in spite of our feelings.
Yeah, like fake it till you make it.
It's like that old saying, fake it till you make it.
Right. But she takes it a step further.
Robbins takes it a step further. She's saying, act till you become it.
Act it till you become.
It's about using those 5-second windows to take action,
Yeah.
even when we don't feel like it,
Even when we don't feel like it.
and trusting that the feelings will follow.
Oh, that's interesting.
And she even talks
Yeah.
about
Okay.
how this concept applies to something as fundamental as
Happiness.
happiness. Yeah.
Oh.
We often think we need to wait for external circumstances to change
Right.
before we can feel happy.
Right. Like I need to get that promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'll be happy.
But Robbins argues that happiness is a choice
Happiness is a choice.
that we make moment by moment.
Oh, I like that.
It's about choosing to focus on the positive, choosing to practice gratitude,
Yeah.
choosing to act in ways that bring us joy, even when we're feeling down or discouraged.
So you're saying...
And you know what?
Okay.
There's actually scientific evidence to support this.
Really?
Yeah, studies have shown that acting in ways
Yeah.
that are consistent with happiness
Okay.
can actually change our brain chemistry over time,
Wow.
making us more naturally inclined to experience joy and contentment.
So it's not just some feel-good philosophy.
So it's not just some feel-good philosophy.
It's actual neuroscience.
It's actually backed by neuroscience.
That's really cool.
And it all comes back to those 5-second decisions.
Right?
Those moments where we choose to act in alignment with our values, our goals,
Our vision for ourselves.
our vision for ourselves,
Even when it's challenging.
even when it feels challenging.
So Robbins talks about how she used this to overcome...
Robbins even talks about how she used this principle to overcome her own struggles with anxiety and depression.
Wow.
She realized that she was spending so much time
Dwelling on the negative.
dwelling on negative thoughts and fears
Yeah.
that she was literally making herself feel worse.
That makes sense.
So she started to use the 5-second rule
Okay.
to interrupt those negative thought patterns and replace them with more positive and empowering ones.
So she would just...
She would literally count down from 5
Okay.
and force herself to think about something she was grateful for
That's a good strategy.
or something that made her feel happy.
Yeah.
And over time, this simple act of redirecting her thoughts
Right.
actually started to shift her mood
Wow.
and her outlook on life.
It's amazing.
It's amazing how such a simple tool
Yeah.
can have such a profound impact
On our well-being.
on our mental and emotional well-being.
That's really powerful.
And it all comes back to
Taking control.
this idea of taking control of our thoughts and our actions,
Yeah.
not letting our emotions dictate our behavior.
Not letting our emotions run the show.
Right. Recognizing that we have the power
Right.
to choose how we respond
To any situation.
to any situation, even when it feels like we don't.
Exactly.
And that's the essence of everyday courage.
Yeah.
It's not about being superhuman.
No, being human.
It's about being human. It's about
Making those small choices.
making those small conscious choices
Yeah, to show up.
to show up as our best selves.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
It's about using those
It's about using those 5-second windows
to step out of our comfort
to
zones.
step out of our comfort zones, push past our fears, and create the life we truly desire.
And it's a journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
It's not something you just arrive at.
There are going to be times when we falter.
Yeah, we're going to mess up.
We give in to our doubts and fears.
Right, we're human.
But the key is
But the key is to keep practicing,
to keep using
to
that
keep using that 5-second rule
to get back on track.
to get back on track.
It's about
It's about having the courage to start again,
to start again.
to pick ourselves up and keep moving forward.
One 5-second decision at a time.
One 5-second decision at a time.
And this idea of like continuous growth and improvement,
Yeah,
it makes me think about
it really resonates.
the power of morning routines.
It reminds me of something I read recently about the power of morning routines.
Oh, morning routines.
Yeah.
There's so much there.
There's a whole world of wisdom
Uh-huh.
and strategy packed into those early hours.
You're telling me.
Right.
Yeah.
And Robbins actually dedicates a whole chapter in the book to this.
Oh, wow.
The importance of mastering your morning
Okay.
as an act of everyday courage.
That makes sense.
Because
that first few hours
Those first few hours of the day
really set the tone for everything.
can really set the tone for everything that follows.
Yeah.
And she emphasizes that creating a morning routine that supports your goals and values
Right.
isn't about being rigid or following some cookie-cutter formula.
Okay.
It's about finding what works for you
Not working for you.
and using those early hours to set yourself up for success,
To set yourself up for success.
both personally and professionally.
So what kind of things does she recommend?
Well, she talks about the importance of starting your day with intention.
Okay.
So taking a few minutes to connect with your breath,
Yeah.
to meditate, or just to reflect on what you're grateful for.
Yeah. Create that sense of calm
It's about creating a sense of calm and clarity
before the day gets crazy.
before the day's demands start to take over.
It's so important.
It is, right?
It's so easy to get swept up
Yeah.
in the whirlwind of emails.
Yeah, to-do lists, social media notifications,
As soon as we wake up,
the minute our eyes open.
taking a few minutes to center ourselves.
Taking even just a few minutes to center ourselves
Yeah.
can make a huge difference
In our mood and productivity.
in our overall mood and productivity.
I love that.
Robbins also talks about the importance of movement in the morning.
Okay.
So whether it's a quick workout,
Mm-hmm.
a yoga session, or just a walk around the block,
Right.
getting our bodies moving
Waking up the body and the mind.
helps to energize us, both physically and mentally.
Totally.
And she emphasizes that it doesn't have to be a marathon workout.
No.
Even just a few minutes of movement
Can make a difference.
can make a difference.
What about things like
Yeah.
checking emails?
Yeah, or social media.
Is she a fan of that first thing in the morning?
Not really.
Okay.
She actually recommends avoiding screens for the first hour of your day,
For the first hour.
if possible.
Okay.
It's about protecting your time and energy
Right.
from those external distractions
I see.
and allowing yourself to really focus on what matters most.
That makes sense.
Right.
It's tough, but it makes sense.
It's tough, but it makes a lot of sense.
It's about being intentional.
It's about being intentional with how we start our day.
Not letting technology run the show.
Instead of letting technology dictate our agenda. And Robbins also stresses the importance of nourishing our bodies
With it.
with a healthy breakfast.
Okay.
So she's not talking about some elaborate meal prep routine.
Right.
It's about making sure
We're getting the nutrients
we're fueling our bodies with the nutrients we need
to function at our best.
to function at our best.
That's something I'm guilty of neglecting.
Oh, yeah. Same here.
I get so caught up in the morning rush that I forget to eat breakfast a lot.
Yeah, I hear that.
But
But Robbins reminds us
yeah.
that even just a quick smoothie
Yeah.
or a piece of fruit
Okay.
can make a difference in our energy levels and focus throughout the day.
So it's all about making those small choices
It's about making those small but conscious choices
that support our overall well-being.
that align with our overall well-being.
And that can have a ripple effect throughout our day.
In the morning,
Yeah.
that can have a ripple effect throughout our day and even our lives.
Just like the 5-second rule.
Just like the 5-second rule.
I love that connection.
And she shares some really inspiring examples
Oh, yeah. Like what?
in the book of people who've transformed their mornings
Mm.
and their lives by simply implementing a few key habits.
What kind of habits?
Like the busy mom
Okay.
who started waking up 30 minutes earlier
Mm-hmm.
to meditate and journal,
Okay.
which gave her that sense of calm and clarity
What?
that carried her through the day.
That's a good one.
Or the entrepreneur
Okay.
who committed to working out every morning,
Uh-huh.
which boosted his energy and focus,
Yeah.
allowed him to be more productive in his business.
That makes sense.
It's incredible to see
Yeah.
how those small changes can lead to such significant results.
You know, I've noticed something.
What's that?
We've been talking a lot about morning routines.
Yeah.
And I realized
Yeah.
Robbins actually talks about planning your quitting time each day.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Planning your quitting time.
Planning your quitting time.
I've never thought about that.
It's about setting boundaries around work and making sure you're prioritizing your personal life and well-being.
I like that.
She argues that having a set quitting time helps to prevent burnout
That makes sense.
and allows us to show up more fully
Yeah.
in all areas of our lives.
That's such an important message.
It is, right?
Especially these days where it's all hustle and always on.
Especially in our always-on, hustle-driven culture.
Yeah,
It's a reminder
it is.
that rest and rejuvenation
Words are important.
are just as important as productivity and achievement.
I agree.
And as we're talking about morning routines and planning our quitting time,
Yeah.
it's clear that Robbins' approach to everyday courage
Yeah.
is really about taking control of our lives,
Taking control.
making conscious choices
Right.
that align with our values and goals.
It's about recognizing
It's about recognizing that we have more agency than we often realize,
we're not just victims
that we're not simply victims of our circumstances
of our emotions.
or our emotions.
Yeah.
We have the power to choose
We have the power.
how we respond, how we act, how we shape our own lives.
That's incredibly empowering.
It is, right?
Yeah, it really is.
And a big part of that is
Yeah.
having the courage to be ourselves,
Be ourselves.
to embrace our authenticity,
Even when
even when it feels scary or vulnerable.
it can be scary.
So that reminds me of something Robbins said in the book
What's that?
about the importance of being weird.
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 Okay.
She talks about how we often try so hard
To fit in.
to fit in, to be like everyone else,
Right? Right?
that we end up dimming our own light.
We do.
So she encourages us
To be ourselves.
to embrace our quirks, our passions, the things that make us unique.
I like that.
even if they seem strange or different to others.
We need more of that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating what makes us special.
Right.
Instead of trying to conform to some arbitrary standard of normalcy.
Totally.
And she argues
That true confidence.
that true confidence and happiness come from
Embracing our authenticity.
embracing our authenticity.
Letting go of the need to please everyone else. And simply being ourselves.
I love that.
It's about having the courage to stand out.
To stand out.
To be different.
To be different.
To shine our own unique light into the world.
And,
And that can be contagious.
that kind of courage.
That kind of courage can be contagious
Yeah.
when we're brave enough to be ourselves.
Yeah.
It gives others permission to do the same.
It creates a ripple effect.
It creates a ripple effect of authenticity and acceptance.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's about creating a world where everyone feels safe
Safe and supported.
and supported to be who they truly are.
So that brings us back to the power of everyday courage.
Yeah.
It's not just about achieving our goals
It's not just about achieving our goals
or overcoming our fears.
or overcoming our fears.
It's about showing up.
It's about showing up in the world as our authentic selves. Fully and unapologetically.
Fully and unapologetically.
That's about using those 5-second windows
Yeah.
to make choices.
To make choices that align with our values, our passions, and our vision for the life we want to create.
And it's a journey worth taking.
It is.
One 5-second decision at a time.
One 5-second decision at a time. It's like Robbins is giving us this roadmap.
A roadmap.
Yeah, a set of tools to navigate this journey
Yeah.
of self-discovery and personal growth.
Makes sense.
And the 5-second rule is like that trusty compass,
Yeah.
always there to guide us back
Back to our true north.
to our true north.
Exactly.
And speaking of
Fear.
fear, Robbins doesn't shy away from addressing it.
No, she
Head on in the book.
She acknowledges that it's a natural part of life.
She acknowledges that fear is a natural part of the human experience,
Yeah.
but she also challenges us
To not let it control us.
to not let it control our lives.
She says fear is often based on stories.
She talks about how fear is often based on stories we tell ourselves.
Right.
Stories that may or may not even be true.
Exactly.
So we catastrophize, we overthink,
We create these worst-case scenarios
we create these worst-case scenarios in our minds
that keep us stuck.
that keep us paralyzed and stuck.
Yeah, like we're in prison.
It's like we're living in this self-imposed prison of fear.
And the 5-second rule,
And the 5-second rule is the key that unlocks that door.
it's about challenging those stories.
It's about challenging those fear-based stories,
The limiting beliefs.
questioning those limiting beliefs,
And then acting.
choosing to act in spite of them.
One of the tips she gives.
And she gives some really practical tips for doing this.
Yeah, what's that?
One of my favorites is this idea of reframing our thoughts.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on what we're afraid of,
Right.
she suggests focusing on what we want to achieve,
Okay.
on the positive outcome we're working towards.
So shifting our perspective.
It's about shifting our perspective,
Seeing the opportunity.
choosing to see the opportunity instead of the obstacle.
I like that.
And she also talks about the importance of taking action,
Yeah.
even if it's just a small step.
Right?
She says that action is the antidote to fear,
Action is the antidote to fear.
that the more we act, the less power fear has over us.
Because every time we take action,
Every time we take action,
we're proving to ourselves that we can do it,
we're proving to ourselves that we're capable,
that we're stronger than we think.
that we're stronger than we
We're
think.
building that courage muscle.
We're building that muscle of courage, one 5-second decision at a time.
It all adds up.
And that reminds me of something we talked about earlier.
Okay.
The idea of those small,
Seemingly insignificant moments.
seemingly insignificant moments of courage
Yeah.
that can have a ripple effect in our lives.
It's not always about those big heroic acts.
It's not always about those grand heroic
It's
acts.
small things.
It's about those everyday choices we make to show up, to speak up, to take action,
Even when it's hard.
even when it feels scary or uncomfortable.
But those small acts can add up
And those small acts of courage,
to something extraordinary.
they add up to
Bill.
something truly extraordinary over time
I believe
that can shape our lives,
our relationship,
our relationships, our careers,
the world around us.
and even the world around us.
And Robbins ends the book.
And that brings us back to that beautiful quote
Okay.
that Robbins ends the book with.
Yeah.
She says, when your heart speaks, honor it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One moment of courage can change your day.
One day can change your life.
One day can change your life.
And your life can change the world.
And your life can change the world.
That is so powerful.
It's a powerful reminder that each of us
has the power.
Has the potential to make a difference.
To create positive change.
To create positive change in the world.
By being courageous.
Simply by having the courage to follow our hearts and take action.
It's about recognizing those opportunities.
It's about recognizing those 5-second windows of opportunity.
Yeah.
And jumping through them.
Trusting ourselves.
Trusting ourselves. Trusting our instincts.
It's trusting that we have.
Trusting that we have the power to create the life we truly desire.
And if we go back to that water analogy.
And if we think back to that water analogy from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's about becoming aware.
Of that sea of opportunities.
Of the sea of opportunities that surround us each day.
Every single day.
Those chances to be courageous, to connect, to grow, to make a difference.
It's about seeing the water.
It's about choosing to see the water.
To dive in.
To recognize those moments of potential. And to dive in with courage and enthusiasm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.